Hello and welcome to Beautifully Balanced. Health and happiness aren't found in a bottle of prescription pills or with any fad diet. Instead, we can activate your body's natural ability to heal itself. And that is exactly what we're going to do together here. I'm Sarah Teeple, a women's integrative health practitioner, and I blend the ancient wisdom of Ayurveda with the modern science of functional medicine to help you heal your gut, rebalance your hormones, and calm anxiety naturally. Here I'll teach you the smart, sustainable, personalized, and fun way to use nutrition, herbs, and healthy lifestyle to feel vibrant, energized, and beautiful inside and out. Are you ready? Let's dive in. Hello and welcome. I'm so glad you're here today to talk about the elephant in the room. When it's time to suck it up and take the prescription medications, or if and when it's time to suck it up and take those prescription meds. So today we're going to be diving into what it really means to fully utilize integrative healthcare for your highest good and your most vibrant health. We're going to face the big question head on today together. How do I know if and when it's time to take prescription medications? Or what if I'm already on prescription medications? Is there hope for me to move forward, to ever come off of them? What does my future hold? So the short answer is yes, there is always hope. There's always healing. There's always time. And we're going to talk about this today from both my clinical perspective and from just a very personal empowerment perspective about making this decision for yourself and how to do this. And, what my input and what my support as a holistic practitioner would be around this decision. So, today, the way we're going to do this is first we're going to dive into a big mistake that both practitioners and patients make in their approach to meds. Then I'm going to get a little vulnerable and share my own life experiences and past challenges with this. Because yes, even practitioners sometimes struggle with this decision for themselves. And I know it can be very mentally taxing and confusing. When you're suffering, you need help, support, and relief. And that's what I hope to help you empower yourself to find in this episode. So last but not least, in the episode, I'm going to give you the 3 most important questions to ask yourself before you make the decision on whether or not to take prescription meds, or if you're thinking about weaning off, ask yourself these questions as well. So this is all about helping you make the best decision possible for you. Because my main goal here, beyond getting you to feel your absolute best naturally, is to help you love yourself as authentically as you can and help you make the best decisions for you. So please note that within this episode, this is my own clinical opinion and should not take the place of you talking to your doctor. Always, always, always. We know this. Also, here by prescription medications, I'm not talking about antibiotics for acute infections because those are very important and can be life-saving. But at the same time, do you need a Z-Pack for every sniffle and stuffy nose? And the answer to that is no. So here we go. We're going to start off by talking about the mistake that a lot of practitioners and patients make. And the thought error here, the incorrect thinking is that health and wellness do not have to be black and white. They do not have to be black and white. So sometimes in wellness, there are kind of 2 perceived teams. And we often think we have to be totally on one side of the fence or the other, right? We have to be 100% natural all the time, every time, or we have to take all the Western pharmaceutical meds and just give up, eat processed foods, not really know anything about herbs or supplements. But, it's either that you have to be 100% natural and quote perfect, or suck it up and take the prescription medications and then you're not perfect, right? But this is not true. And I really want to dispel this divisive generalization because oftentimes it can hurt us. We become extreme and really mentally inflexible when we identify with one side of any debate, really. And that rigidity can put us in a mindset of fear. And fear is not the mindset that I want you to be in when you're making decisions for your beautiful body and your beautiful mind and your beautiful life. So, when we divide ourselves into two teams, and that's the mistake that I'm talking about that patients and practitioners make, we put a lot of pressure on ourselves, right? Especially if we're identifying with the 100% natural team, or we judge others, maybe that are not on our team. And as I've said, many practitioners and yogis that I know paint themselves into a box here. And the result is always just putting pressure on yourself or judging others. And that is not what we want and need to do, right? Our toolbox, our integrative toolbox is vast, and we are able to use all the tools available to us, but we always want to do it from an informed, educated place, from a place where we feel well supported and we're able to make the best possible decisions for ourselves. So, when we paint ourselves into a box, put ourselves on one team or the other, our well meaning human brains can get extreme and general and black and white. And we kind of make all these assumptions about what our group has to do to be the perfect version of our team, and then what the other team must do, right? Those others. So the all natural team, right? If you identify as just natural, holistic, into wellness, I'm doing like some air quotes here, because sometimes this has kind of become like an image or a badge of honor or this like big heroic thing that you're all natural. So we think we have to eat just all organic, whole, home cooked foods, no processed or packaged foods ever, no caffeine, no alcohol, no marijuana. In yoga and Ayurveda, this is called being sattvic. Sattva is kind of this pure, untainted, clear vibe, clear persona that we would be going for. And this is a goal in yoga and Ayurveda. It's a goal or aspiration, or I might call it kind of an unattainable ideal, at least for a very real human being like me, a three-dimensional human being like me and you. So should we strive to be natural, holistic, to meditate and eat natural foods and slow down? Yes, 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 yes. Should we put unrealistic expectations on ourselves and pressure on ourselves to be this perfect holistic hero? No, we don't need to do that. So that's team one, 100% natural, perfect all the time. Team two is just 100% bought into the status quo of Western healthcare and the kind of Western modern way of life. We're eating processed foods all the time, fast foods. We're taking a pill for every ill, over the counter medications for every ache, pain, and runny nose. And we're just blindly taking any prescriptions that our doctor prescribes without first asking if there are other options, or talking about, having a broader conversation about what else we might do naturally. So here I've painted the picture, the really general black and white pictures of team one, all natural, team two, all prescription meds all the time. And I'm kind of trying to paint extreme pictures here to show us how silly it is to think in this black and white kind of way. And if you're kind of in this black and white way of thinking, to just take a deep breath, relax, set yourself free from it a little. Because in reality, what I see most, especially with my clients, is people that want to be part of team one. They want to be all natural, but they might feel like they are already a failure if they took a Tylenol last week for their menstrual cramps, or if they're on an antidepressant. They already feel like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing it right. And I just feel like I'm already set up for failure. But that's not the case. So, first and foremost, we can kind of dispel this black and white thinking and know that integrative means we have lots of tools available to us and we're open to all of them, but we want to come at it from an educated, informed place and a supported place, which is why I, of course, always recommend working with an experienced professional. So, my story here is that I have definitely struggled with this decision in the past many times. And it can be so tiring to go back and forth, to be in this purgatory when you're suffering of, well, the doctor said I should do this, I should take this prescription, but I really don't want to be on this drug for the rest of my life. I don't know my other options. I feel like this is all, the weight of the world is on my shoulders, the weight of the future is on my shoulders, and I don't know what to do, right? That's a lot of pressure. And I have felt this pressure before. So I felt it the first time when I decided not to take synthetic hormones to boost my fertility. If you've listened to this podcast, you know that after some life trauma, I experienced a lot of gut and digestive issues that led to a lot of anxiety, weight loss, amenorrhea, which means no period, for years. And my partner and I wanted to have children, but I didn't have a period. So that could be a problem, right? Um, so the fertility specialist recommended that I get on synthetic hormones to restore a cycle. I opted not to. I searched my own soul and opted not to. And I had a great holistic team. That's very important. And I had two healthy babies without the help of Western meds with that. And again, later, I opted not to take anxiety meds or migraine medications and was able to treat those things naturally with lots of education, time, and support, herbs, and nutrition. Also, there was a time more recently when, guys, yes, I decided to take the prescription medication. So a few weeks ago, I said this is going to get a little vulnerable. It's not going to get too vulnerable. I'm not going to cry, by golly. But several weeks ago, I experienced a migraine. And when I used to get them, they would last easily for 2 to 4 days and just be unrelenting. It's really hard for me to function. And in my personal life, I've been under a lot of stress, some medical conditions within my family and my children, and a lot of professional pressures. Not this podcast and not my clients. I love you guys and I love what I do. But sometimes, even in your life, when you love your family and you love your career, there can still be lots of pressure and demands and responsibilities. And I tend to be mentally kind of pitta and vata, so prone to holding myself to very high expectations, really putting the pressure on myself to perform and provide and take care of everything. And sometimes those pressures uh, applied to my decision not to take prescription meds. For a long time, I was like, I will not take these migraine medications. I did not like my headache specialist that I saw last year when he recommended these medications. He was very dismissive about the holistic strategies that I had implemented that had worked wonderfully. And he was very disempowering. So I think part of me was like, I'm not going to take this medication because I don't like or respect this individual and his medical approach. Um, but so I'm kind of being humorous here, but also painting the picture that I myself was in this rigid black and white space for myself, thinking I am not going to do this no matter what. But a few weeks ago, I experienced a migraine attack, and I felt finally like, in order to function and in order to just provide myself some relief, I'm going to try this medicine. And I did. And it's not the kind of medicine that you take every single day. Not that I'm judging if anyone out there is on a med that you have to take every day. But I just want to share some of my experience with you that I took the medication. It provided some relief, and it even provided a little relief, not just physiologically from the migraine, but a little bit of relief that I finally allowed myself to just use one of these tools in my toolkit. Is a Western medical tool, this triptan, they're called, for the relief of migraines. And it worked. And I felt like it just created a little space in my life and a little allowance that I am not a failure if I take a prescription medication. And the same applies to you. You are not a failure if you take a prescription medication. And If we do that, again, we want to make sure that we're doing it from a place of being very in tune with ourselves, with what we want for our lives, and we're not just blindly following a doctor's advice. This brings me to the final, most important part of our episode, which is how do we make this decision? How do we decide what is going to be best for us? Because your body is your own. Your life is your own. And I want you to see that as something that's tremendously empowering and such a big gift, not something that puts the pressure on and makes you feel like you just have to be perfect in every single way, but that is freedom, that you get to make your own decisions. And so here is a really great tool, 3 questions to ask yourself when you're deciding whether or not to take prescription medications. So this can also apply to you if you're already on prescription meds and if you want to decide what your next steps are as far as maybe weaning off or staying on. And of course, that's a conversation that you need to have with your doctor. But here are the 3 questions to ask yourself when you're deciding whether or not to take prescription meds. So, question number 1, and this is so important. So, what else have I tried? And to use my own example with myself and the migraine, I knew that I was doing all the right things nutritionally. Now, was I being perfect? Of course not. Again, I'm a human being, but I was doing all the right things nutritionally. I was doing guided relaxations. I was getting as much rest as I humanly possibly could, which actually, as you may or may not know, I have 2 very small children, run my own business. The kids have a lot of medical necessities. And so was I getting sufficient rest? Probably not. Was I getting as much as I damn well possibly could? Yes. So you ask yourself this as well. What else have I tried? Have I thought about nutrition? Have I thought about how I might shift my breakfast, lunch, dinner to include some more vegetables, more healthy protein, more healthy fats like avocados, nuts and seeds, olive oil, fatty fish like salmon or sardines, and again, all the great veggies and some fruits. Have I tried herbal teas, relaxing herbal teas or guided relaxations? There's so many tools out there right now for us. I love even phone apps like Insight Timer is a really good one. When you work with me, I have lots of guided meditations for you. So I help clients with, things like releasing pain from their body through guided meditations, relaxing, tuning into their intuition, through guided meditations, setting healthy boundaries through guided meditations. There are a lot of great tools that we can use. Have you tried some essential oils? Lavender is wonderful for relaxation. If you're struggling with something like anxiety or depression, are you in talk therapy? Or are you at least talking to family members or your partner or your best friend, expressing yourself, getting these feelings and thoughts and these emotionally charged things out of your body? Another question to ask is, this is still part of the first question about what have I tried, but changing what you can in your schedule to allow for adequate rest. And this is one thing that my partner and I really discussed at length during my last bout with that migraine was, okay, what can we change in the schedule? There has to be a release valve on this pressure cooker that felt like our lives. So, these are important conversations to have with your partner or to have with yourself. And have you tried enlisting the support of a holistic professional? So, before you decide to potentially be on a medication that your doctor might recommend that you're on for the rest of your life, have you tried some of these other things? And I hope the answer is yes. And if it's not, that's okay. Let this be your sign. Let this be your encouragement to try some of these things and to be excited and hopeful, knowing that these could be super helpful. These could be your ticket to potentially not needing that prescription medication or needing a smaller dose or needing to be on it for a shorter amount of time. So you've got all of these options. Use them. So, number two, and we sort of hinted at this at the tail end of number one. Question number two to ask yourself is, what's the time frame here? Is this medication a short-term medication or a long-term medication? And what do I want it to be? And is there an option for that? So this is a conversation to have with your doctor, and also the question to ask for yourself. Sometimes I think when we get into our doctor's office and we're sitting across the desk from this medical professional, or we're sitting on the exam table with our feet kind of hanging off, you almost feel like a little child, right? It feels like there's this power strata of like, I am the helpless child with this symptom, and this is the doctor that's supposed to give me all the answers. And sometimes our minds go blank about what questions to ask, and we don't feel like we're very empowered. Like, we don't feel like we're part of the decision about what medications to take. We feel like we just have to do what the doctor tells us. And I'm here to tell you that that is not true. And often it is really helpful, if you're one of those people who your mind goes blank when you're in with the doctor, write questions down in advance, especially when it comes to, charting your symptoms or tracking your symptoms and reporting them to the doctor. And when it comes to talking about meds and prescriptions, ask them about the time frame. Ask them, is this the lowest dosage possible that I can be on and still experience therapeutic benefits? Ask them, first about the what else can we try? Can we try nutrition? Can we try other things? And be prepared, though, that your doctor might not know much about that, which is why they tend to skip to the pharmaceutical intervention. That is what they're trained to do. Doctors are not trained to teach you about meditation or nutrition or personal empowerment around your health. That's what your holistic professional like me or another wonderful person that you find, that's what we are here to do. Doctors literally are trained in med school to understand how your physiology works and then prescribe a medication or recommend a surgery. So, number two was all about the time frame. Let's get all the different information about this medication that they might be recommending for you. And then number three is, have I talked to my doctor about my personal preferences, my goals, and my plan? And number three is kind of wrapped up in number two, or there's some overlap there. But again, number three is just to really, really empower you to know that your health plan is in your hands. You are the boss of your health. You're the boss, and you make the calls about what goes in your body. And so you've got to tell your doctor about your personal preferences. If you would prefer not to try a medication yet until you try all of those other things, let them know. Often your doctor will easily say, yeah, let's press pause on that. And, when you come back in 6 months, we'll resume the conversation. Or if you're going through a really acute situation and you do need a medication, they might say, I don't recommend we press pause. I recommend we move forward. But then you can ask them all about the time frame, the dosage, are there other things I can try, etc. So now you've got your 3 questions, your empowerment tool about how to decide whether or not to take prescription medications. Number 1, just to recap, what else have I tried? Nutrition, herbal teas, relaxation, essential oils, talk therapy, changing my schedule to allow for more rest time, and enlisting the help of a holistic professional. Number 2, what is the time frame on this recommended medication? Is it short term, long term? What's the dosage? Can that be switched? And number 3, have I talked to my doctor about my personal goals and plan and preferences? And have you acknowledged those for yourself? I recommend that you write those down for your own purposes. So the last most crucial step is, once you've taken stock of all these things, where you are, what you want, you've gotten all the relevant, important information about a potential medication, it's time for you to get quiet in your mind, your body, and your space, and to ask yourself, what do I want to do? What do I feel like is right for me? Take a moment and pause and allow your answer to come to the surface. And if part of your answer is that you'd like more natural support, I welcome you to get in touch with me via email, hello@sarahteeple.com. I'm on Instagram at Teeple Holistic. I'm on the good old World Wide Web at sarahteeple.com, and you're welcome to schedule a free holistic chat. I'd love to hear what you're working on, your goals and your challenges, and help create that space for you to figure out what it is that you want and what's going to be most effective for you. And I thank you so much for being here today. I hope that this episode has empowered you, has opened your mind up to thinking about all the possibilities for your own healthcare, and most of all, has just made you feel supported and super empowered in your own health. Thanks so much again for being here, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thank you for being here with me today. Remember, you can feel your best naturally. Just try one new thing a week that you learn here and watch your body and life transform. And if you're ready to take this to the next level, learn your dosha, get your personalized holistic plan, and live beautifully balanced, you've got to come see me at sarahteeple.com. That's SARAHTEEPLE.com. There you can learn about how to work with me one-on-one or book a free holistic chat and just tell me what you're working on. I love to hear from you and help you live your best life. So until next time, be well. Oh, and if you love this conversation, please rate and review our podcast. That really helps more people find natural healthcare options. Thanks again, and see you soon.